we are good to go. Oh, lights, thank you, Becca. Ta-da! So, we always start everything with a spiritual mind treatment, and I invite you to take a breath. And let it out, and as you let it out, release any and all concerns or weights or anything that you may have brought in the door. Continue to take deep breaths, and on the exhale, let go of anything that is no longer needed in this very moment. And we know. Hey! And you are blessed. There is only one power and presence in the universe. Doesn't matter how it comes out or how it looks. Hey! You are doubly blessed.
Totally blessed.
Hey! We know that whatever this thing called God or Spirit is, it is all that there is. The presence and the power, the light, the life. Hey! The love of the divine. Far beyond that which we can sense. Out past the world of time and space. That which God is, that created everything, everywhere, every when, and everyone, but is greater than that. And we know that since everything is made out of divine substance, then it is God in form. And we know that we are created out of that life and love and presence and power of God itself. It is what we are. Whatever God is, we are. We just take a moment to let that settle in us. We open up our awareness to that greater idea that we are God beings alive and well on planet Earth. And since whatever God is we are, we know and affirm that the health, the wholeness, the prosperity, the success, the love, and the joy of God itself is ours now. That our life reflects that in every moment, in every situation, and in every way. We are blessed right here and right now, and with great gratitude for being able to realize the truth of who we are, for knowing that truth and having it reflect back to us in the experiences of our lives with great gratitude. For all that God is as us, we simply release this treatment into the mind of God, the heart of God, knowing that it manifests as the body of God. As together we say, and so it is. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Boy, God isn't a problem, God is abundant. Hi, sweetie.
Hi.
So John's going to take it.
Mike,
Yeah, just tell me when you want that.
okay,
I'll be your sound girl.
and so much more. Thank you for coming out on a holiday evening. It was fun. So we did a recognition last week. We looked at the how we perceive the presence of the divine. How's everybody doing on that? Was that a valuable process for you? Has there been anything that's been a revelation for you in the past week around that? Stephanie?
Well, it's just that when I was reading the first chapter last week, I had a felt experience of being one with essence and being. And somebody mentioned it last week. When I've been using God, my mind goes to separate, to dualism. So it was really nice to have that felt experience. So
Very
thank
nice.
you for that chapter.
Yay.
Yay, and for the class.
Yay.
Yay.
And that there's, we do that first step so that we can start getting a sense of that idea of the infinite. Not completely, not finally, not to a place where we just are there forever, but to pursue that, to yearn for that, to want that understanding or a greater understanding in our lives, and to continue to pursue it, to continue to look for it in everything. And it works in so many dimensions, in so many ways. One certainly is that anytime you feel like you are in judgment or feeling a separation from something, the immediate thing to do is recognize that that's God too. And that's really helpful. To recognize the omnipresence of God means the things you don't like of God. Doesn't mean they're bad. That's the place our minds tend to want to go. That's the way we were trained to think, is if we don't like something, there must be something wrong with it. But when we do that and separate ourselves, then we don't have the value of that to use in our lives. So we think, rethink, think it again. No, God's there too. Now my job is to see that. So whether you're, going off in one of those wonderful, blissful ideas of the cosmos and beyond being the presence, or the infinitely small being the presence, or anything else, the idea is that there's no exclusion there. There's nothing that doesn't get included. I think I mentioned last week that I had a colleague that once said that the person that does something challenging in life is God. But the thing they do is, and I can't go there. Because if you can find any little tiny thing that isn't God, then the whole premise falls apart. Yeah, the whole thing falls, either it's everything and all things and all ways, or it's maybe or maybe not. And I don't want to live in a wishy-washy world like that. I want to rely on that presence.
That becomes conditional.
Yeah, absolutely. Even with the tiniest little thing. So, and you can argue that even my upset is part of the presence of the divine, and it is. The thing, though, is that we are absolutely a choice. And whenever we create a separation, anything that we do in our mindset that separates us from an awareness of the presence, then we fall short. That's why they call the second step unification. Not my favorite word. But I get their point is that we're not trying to unify ourselves with God. Anybody that tells you that's what the second step is missing the point, because we cannot exist separate from God ever. But in our thinking, we can. I think we can think that we're separate.
Isn't it also known as identification?
That's the word I love to use, is identification. But the idea, I want to stay with the unifying for a bit more, but the idea that the only thing that you can unify is your thinking. You can't unify yourself with God. It's impossible. But you can suddenly be aware that there's only one thing. And that, to me, is identification. It's identifying the presence at the point of me. But it applies everywhere, no exceptions. Every circumstance, every situation, every person, everything. All God. All that divine presence. That divine intelligence dwells in that and cannot be separated from it. Yes? Andy?
I started doing the spiritual mind treatment when you substituted one night for Barbara's class.
Right?
We went through the whole 5 steps really quite quickly, and what I find is the magic is the repetition. But not rock. That kind of I memorize something, and I attempt to be spontaneous every time I do it. But there is a magic about me sitting on my porch while my dog is.
Yeah.
And I'm listening to all the birds, and I'm hearing the wind go through the leaves, and it's beautiful, and I remind myself that all of that is God. All of it simultaneously. It seems like there's a multitude, but it's all just one. And that reminder, I don't know how long I keep that reminder. Once I get in my car, you all are on your own.
Well, you know what? I'll bet, Anne-Lee, that you're more present with it than you used to be.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so let's not negate the fact that if you sit and do that, you're setting an intention for your day.
Right.
And you're in a better space with that than you would have been
To go back to it, even when I get out of it, I go, okay.
And you got a place to go back to. And what you're talking about sitting on your porch, Barbara and I sit in our cushy leather chairs to do ours, and it's very comfortable, and we do it in the morning, so we hear the birds chirping, and the sun is rising up above the horizon, so it's moving into the room, and that really is about ritual. And there's a reason that there's ritual. There's a reason that spiritual and religious organizations and groups have always found something to ritualize is because it sort of makes you wake up to it, to be aware that something special is happening. So going to your special place gives you that ability to kind of move into the zone and remember and really be with it. And I particularly like doing it at the beginning of the day because it does set for the whole day.
And doesn't it help if, like, it becomes habit, because that becomes your default?
What part? What do you speak? What is it?
Like the spiritual mind treatment, that thinking.
We don't want to forget the thoughts to fall into this, to being the same all the time. But we can move into a ritual of being in a certain place, of knowing that calls us to be really present, and then move into the saying. Now, I'm not going to tell you that having the same words is in any way a useless thing.
Yeah.
It isn't.
Yeah, I'm not saying, hey, they have to be the same words, but just the concept of it and
Yeah.
the doing of it.
Right.
Whether it's the same words or not.
Yeah.
But if it becomes a habit, then that kind of becomes your default setting. So if you're knocked out of something, it's an easy to fall back into because it is a habit.
Well, I travel a lot, so when I'm in Denver, I go into my office, and actually the chapel in the building is right next to my office. So I often go over there and quietly in the morning at 6 or 7, before anybody else is there, or many people are there, and do my work there. But when I'm in hotel rooms and such, I always scan the hotel room for where I want to be when I do my treatment. And there's usually a lovely chair somewhere, and if not, I'll sit cross-legged on the bed and do it. But wherever it is, it's done consciously. And that's part of the process, is getting yourself ready for this. Yes?
I just want to add something else that what you just said, is after years of practicing meditation, my body knows what it's about to do.
Yeah.
All I have to do is sit on my cushion, cross my legs, and there is something that comes much easier now after 15, 20 years of doing it than it did 15, 20 years ago. The other thing is, are we to do this out loud? Because I do find that saying it out loud, even if I'm in a room by myself, does something then, becoming self-conscious maybe that, maybe my neighbors are coming outside and they see me out there talking to myself with my hands at my chest, like, oh my God, that woman's crazy than we freaking thought. But I do find that there's something that happens that's a little bit more powerful for me saying it out loud rather than just
I
saying
always
it
treat
in
out loud, but I'm an extrovert. So my world's happening out here already. Introverts can be comfortable with it inside, I'm told, but for me, I gotta say it out loud. And I don't only say it, but I start my treatments when I'm alone, when I'm not with Barbara, I start my treatments with a song.
Really?
I do. That's a song we sing every Sunday. There's Only Love, just works for me to start with that song.
That's
So-
so sweet.
It just calms me down and centers me.
I see you in this hotel room, cross-legged on the bed, singing "There's Only Love" with the hotel. That's wonderful.
If you think about it, we say that God knows all. So how would God know it? By me knowing it. And I'm an extrovert, so I put it out there, and it just puts me in that state.
There's
Gets me ready to go.
A neuro-linguistic programming concept that if you anchor a feeling with an action, you can do the action and you'll get the feeling. So you sit down, cross your legs, and your body starts to meditate. And I think that's what you were asking, Breezy, that if you do that, then that becomes your default. So that you can start, thank you, Doug. You can start, although I'm quite loud enough, but you can start doing your treatment, and because of the practice, of the spiritual practice, which is really important that you do this every day, then you'll have investments in the bank and it'll take you forward. And this is particularly important if you're upset or if something's going awry, that you've got these investments, these deposits already, so you can start your spiritual mind treatment and it will take you somewhere that you need to go, where you practice it while everything's going great, you're out on your porch and the birds are singing and the dog is there and all of that's great, but when something happens and you don't have the porch or you don't have the nice time and things are up for you, you can start going into that treatment and you'll have something in reserves to carry you forward. And that is really important. Spiritual practice is not for the time that you're practicing spiritually. It's for when you don't have time to practice and you need to draw on those reserves that says, oh, everything is totally screwed up. No, 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 I remember. There's something more than the appearance. There's something greater, there's something better happening here, and I can open up to it. And then before you know it, you've shifted your energy, you've changed your thought, you've set the law in motion, and everything is happening differently. Amy Irwin was in a class, and she got a notice from her boss and went outside in her car and cried, and then she treated, and then she opened up the notice that said she was fired from the job that she was in, and she was promoted to another job. And she swears that that other half of it would not have been in the letter if she hadn't gone out to her car and treated. That's the power that we wield. Thank you, my darling.
Well, you're so welcome. So not to say that all treatments have to be 5 steps. Well, the idea of a treatment is that you're treating a condition in your life. And David and I were having a conversation before class. He was talking about how some teachers teach that there are 7 steps. Some teach that there are 12. Somebody wrote a book, 12 Steps of Treatment. Guess what we're not going to get you to do? In the 7 step, one of the extra steps is actually called a denial. We don't teach denial here, and that's mostly me. It just doesn't work for me. I really heard Holmes when he said turn away from the condition. And if denying the condition is pointing to it and saying no. But sometimes, and Barbara has pointed this out to me, that sometimes you just have to do a flat no! And then you state what is so. And sometimes you don't even have time. Barbara told me once of a treatment she did that was, the word was no, but the consciousness was, I don't accept this. This is not true for me. And what it was is that she was driving in the city of Orlando, and a big semi pulled in front of her. And they were on a collision course that could not be avoided. She said no, and suddenly she was on the other side of the truck, unscathed. So whatever it takes, you know, the idea is that place that you go when you do the 5 steps, that place that gets you so clear that you're speaking with the authority of the divine. Apparently, if you can go there with that clarity, you can say the word no and mean it, and then whatever is about to happen is averted. Pretty cool, huh? But it's the consciousness that does that. This is all driven by consciousness. So what we do is, as practitioners of the science of mind, is we practice a 5-step process. We do it every chance we can. If we can't, if there's an immediacy, and you need to just declare the truth, just do it. But in that, so you need to be able to treat anywhere, anytime. I've treated driving. But guess what? I didn't close my eyes that time. But if you have to, if that's what you're called to do, if that's the best thing in your life, treat right there, right now. You know? And whatever that looks like can't be wrong. Because what we tell people is, whatever you're thinking is a treatment. Whatever you're thinking is having the same effect. The reason we do the 5 steps is we want you to get to that place where you speak with authority. Because a lot of times if you just do affirmations, and affirmations are wonderful, but if you just do affirmations and you don't get how important it is to claim the authority of the divine in that moment, then there can be questions in the midst of that affirmation. You know, uncertainty, not speaking with the full authority of the divine, just kind of wanting it to be. And that's what you cannot do a spiritual mind treatment in a wanting state. It doesn't give you anywhere to want. It only gives you a place to know. So that's why we do the 5 steps. And that's why we start with recognition, knowing the truth of the divine, that it is everywhere, always. And whatever qualities or attributes you want to give to it in that moment will help you with the rest of the treatment. So you spend your time there. I really encourage you, don't get caught in that rote thing of just saying the same 5 to 8 words and moving on to step 2. Spend some time really knowing that is the truth, that what is present is that presence and only that. Yes, Jane?
Sometimes you don't have time for all that, though. Like when I was doing a delivery on Meals on Wheels, and this man was falling off his porch, and it looked like he was going to fall flat on his face.
Right.
And I had the lunch for him, and so I didn't have time to suddenly be aware that God was in the picture and everything was good. I just somehow I don't know how it happened, but he grabbed the lunch and I had the lunch and I brought him to his feet.
Right.
And I didn't have any conscious awareness.
Of course not. Neither did Barbara in the example I gave you. Those are very similar examples. The idea is in the moment you know the truth, instantly, right?
Yeah, and
But when you get up in the morning and you sit down and you do your treatment work, that's called spiritual practice. When that person's falling off the chair or when that truck is in, that's not spiritual practice. That's using what you have taught yourself to do. It's sort of like martial arts. Martial arts look very violent, but they have a purpose and they're defensive. So that if someone attacks you, you have the skills already built into your psyche to move your body in a way that moves that away from you or keeps that away from you, or in some way defend yourself from it. But all the practice you do to get ready for it, was with a partner or just swinging at the air or doing those moves again and again and again, so that when you need them in that moment for defensive purposes, they're there. That's what you're describing. That's what happened with Barbara. So your spiritual practice is your practice. That's where you start your day with your treatment work. But in those moments, of course, you can't stop and do it all. It's impossible.
Yeah, I didn't practice that. That was a big surprise to me, that I could.
So you don't do spiritual mind treatment in the morning?
I didn't then.
Okay, well that's fine. But we're talking about using spiritual mind treatment. We're not talking about life situations. Okay, we're talking about how to use treatment. Yes, what do you want to say?
I agree with your analogy, but having practiced martial arts, I found out that I was practicing defense and creating it eventually by practicing it. So
Creating a need to defend yourself?
Yeah. Well,
Well, yeah, I'm sure that in your psyche you can do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So let's not make a direct alignment here that you're creating matters that you need to treat, conditions that you need to treat, although we do. We create every condition in our lives.
Right.
So what spiritual mind treatment becomes is a realignment of our knowing in the moment. So that we know at any moment in our lives, the truth of who we are, instantly. But that comes from practice. Okay. So, I think it's time to listen to a song. Olympia sings it to us every so often.
Answered my question.
Good, yay. And that's a song about the first two steps of treatment. I'm recognizing that presence no matter what you call it. The point is that it dwells at the point of you, and it dwells at the point of me. And it must. I think one of my favorite lines that pulls all this together is love is the presence of God. Love is always present. There is no place where there is not love. I had a shaman from Mexico once describe love as the glue that holds the universe together. Ooh, that really worked for me, because the universe is everywhere that I can know. So however that works, that divine presence cannot be away from us. We can never be apart from it. In fact, all human suffering is about the idea of being separate from the divine. Feeling alone, feeling disempowered, which is all made up. It's all made up. I mean, when you know that there are people that could have power and be clear about who they were in a Nazi concentration camp, and I figure it can happen anywhere. So, we move into step two. It really, step two exists in step one. But there's a logic to it that you once you get, you realize that if there is an omnipresent power, a divine essence that dwells in and as all things, then I cannot be separate from that. That my job, though, is not simply to be that, but to know that I am that, because the power is in the knowing. This divine presence is everywhere and always. That doesn't guarantee anything. It really doesn't, you know? You have to know it. You have to live from it. Are we not on?
You're on.
Okay. Okay. We have to live from it and know that in every sense of our lives. The ultimate accomplishment of step two is so that as we move into step three, we speak with the authority of the divine. So everybody say this with me. I am God.
I am God.
You believe that?
Yes.
Okay. To believe it, though, you have to recognize that God is everywhere, because if you walk around town looking at people going, I'm God, you're going to be calling for the wacko wagon, to come get you. Because standing on its own, it doesn't have a context in our culture. Now, if you walk down the street in India, they might think, oh, that's very good. But not here.
Namaste.
Yeah, namaste. Exactly. So the idea is to know it. You don't have to preach it to the world. All you have to do is know it. And then whatever is facing you is easy, because there's nothing that the power of the divine can't handle. I mean, it's all God. Even the dilemma is God. In fact, that's the work you do, is recognizing the challenge, the struggle, whatever it is all God. It's all the divine presence. And so am I. But the condition that I'm looking at has no authority over me. It's simply there to remind me of who I am. I think everything in my life that has ever been a struggle, when I look at it in hindsight, it was simply saying, know who you are. Know who you are. So your work is to know who you are. How do you do that? Well, the simple little games that you can play with your mind is that whatever God is, I am. So anything that you can attribute to the divine dwells in you. And we're not talking about, I am the cosmos. I cannot be separated from the cosmos. In fact, the quintessential line about that is, as the wave is to the ocean, I am to spirit. How many waves could we have if we didn't have an ocean? You can't. An ocean wave is part of the ocean. In fact, I love to call an ocean wave an impulse, which means that I am an impulse of the divine. I like that. I like that. Which means that energy, that creative force that created the cosmos is the same creative force at the point of me that creates my experience. Exactly the same. It functions exactly the same way, without exception. So this elegant universe that we live in, these spiraling things in space, this celestial whoopee that's happening out there, is the same elegance that lives in my life. My job to see it. My job to know it, my job to claim it and own it and embody it. And if there's stuff that's going on that is not the way I like it, then it's my job to change it. And the first thing you do to change it is claim that power. That power that he speaks of in that song that Daniel speaks of is exactly what I'm talking about. That there is only one thing going on. And at the point of need, it's absolutely perfect. So the exercise that you have for this is to say what God is, to attribute some quality to God, and then claim it as yourself. That's the work, so that nothing escapes you. So the 7 attributes that Thomas Troward and Ernest Holmes used were peace, power, beauty, love, light, joy, and wisdom. Out of order, but they're there. So I am those things. And it's not that I have those things. It's not that I can get those things. Those are innately part of my nature. And if I have covered them up with all of the yuck of life, that's my doing. And we all have limited thinking. Nobody gets out of that game. All of us do that. But the job is to rise above, transcend those limiting thoughts. I had a lovely lady in my office today. She has a big dream, a big vision to support people in a particular way. And she's run out of money. She and her husband's retirement, and they've invested in this, and they don't have the vision yet. And she said to me, "I'm terrible at raising money." I said, "Oh, you're going to lose that statement because you're setting yourself up here." And she's tried 4 times to turn this over to somebody else, and they took her money, but they didn't create any money. I said, "Well, you're doing that too, because you somehow see a limitation in yourself. There's no room in this to have limitations on yourself. You have to be willing to see that we put things in compartments. It's our nature as human beings to want everything to fit nicely together, and some of it to explain why we haven't succeeded at something. Well, I'm not good at that. And I'm as guilty as anybody of that. I still tell the story about taking the Air Force battery of exams and physicals and all to try to get out of the draft back in the 1970s so I wouldn't end up in Vietnam. And I love to tell people how they gave me this battery test and said that I could work at the Pentagon, that I could move into military intelligence, that I could go into officers training, but I could not touch their equipment. We all laugh, and what happens is that I'll pull out a pair of pliers and hurt myself or others, because I have this limiting thought about myself. Yeah, right. So when we have these limiting, and then when I let that go and know that I can do what needs to be done, I can do it. It's only the limiting thought that holds me back. So here's one for you. Anytime you have a limiting thought about yourself, you're really having that thought about God. You're saying, God's not smart enough. God's not good enough. God's not big enough. God's not educated enough, which is absurd. We can do anything we set our minds to, including knowing the truth of ourselves. So that work is really for us to awaken to that divine presence within us. That's the work. It never ends, because there's always more to get. But look at those things that you're not satisfied with in your life as the gifts that call you to wake up and know that you can, that you're bigger than that, that the Godhead of your being is the God of the cosmos, the God that created all. The God of your essence is that divine presence that created everything. And as Charlie Shepherd would say, start acting like it. Now, you got to do, this is an egoless process. So many wonderful teachers teach you to kill your ego. Frankly, egos come in handy sometimes. I get such a kick out of Barbara. She'll walk by a mirror and go, God, I look good. Yes! Isn't that wonderful? She's not saying anybody else doesn't look good. She's just acknowledging the presence of the divine in her as beauty. We could all do more of that, except Barbara. Barbara's got it down. But it's true. We need to be able to know that we are naturally joyful. We need to accept and embrace and embody the fact that we are at peace. The peace of life dwells within us. Oh, but I have all this angst about this thing in my life. You're making that up and covering that wonderful peace with it. What about you set that down and simply know the truth of yourself? Because you'll get a lot more done being in a peaceful state than you ever will in an anxious state. So why not be peaceful? Be your natural self. My particular favorite is power. And it's not power over anyone. It's simply the power of knowing who I am and applying that to every situation in my life. Applying it no matter where, no matter what. Knowing that there is a unique presence within me that serves me by being the truth of my being, by being that divine, infinite power of God as me right here, right now. No shortcomings. And that's, that sounds like an egotistical statement, but if I know it for myself, I must know it for you too. Because if I think I'm better than you, I'm lost. If I think you're better than me, I'm lost. We are the presence of the divine moving through life in this wonderful dance, this elegant dance. We are here for one another. We are not on separate planets. We're all here on planet Earth. There's enough planets out there, they've discovered now there's enough planets that every human being could have their own and sustain life on it, but what would that do? That makes no sense at all. We're here to wake one another up. Even the people you don't like, especially the people you don't like, are here to wake you up. You don't have to take them home with you, but when someone says something to you that seems to be telling you you're less than, that's your cue to remember who you are. No, I'm not. Somebody was telling me the other day that someone told them to shut up. They had an idea, and it was important to them when they spoke up, and the person turned around and said, why don't you just shut up? And what was the purpose of that? For her to remember she had a voice, and that she's not going to shut up. She's going to be able to speak what is true for her at any moment in time. God bless her. God bless that one that said shut up, because it reminded her that that's not her life. Her life is not to shut up. Hers is to know the truth. Wow, isn't that wonderful? So this is your opportunity in step 2 in claiming your own divinity and seeing the divinity in every circumstance and situation you face, no matter what. God's in the midst of it. Your job is to find him. Barbara, I think it's time for me to give this back to you. Is that good? I think I've explored all these ideas. That's great.
Is that for after?
Yes,
break?
yes.
Okay. I love step 2. I love step 2 because I have been in so much therapy, and there is nothing better, in my opinion, than moving into this state that whatever lofty idea you've come up with that the divine is, that spirit is, that this infinite, fabulous peace, love, joy, power, wholeness is you, and it's not that you can ever get away from it, you can't screw it up, you can't make it not happen because of the things that you've done, the things that are in the closet, the thing that we try to hide from each other. Just think about it, there's only one mind. Everybody at some level already knows everything that you have ever done. So this idea about hiding who we are or what we're thinking about or what we want or anything like that, it doesn't work on a spiritual level, and it doesn't help on a psychological level. So when we sit down in the mornings and we open up to the infinite, absolute love and presence of spirit, that which created universes and galaxies and nebula and color and light and taste and touch, all of that amazing stuff, and then we take it inside of us. We open up to it, we feel it, we embrace it, that has to be what we are. The biggest love that exists has to be us. The greatest thing that has ever happened has to be us. The most power, the most joy, the most amazingness has to be us. And especially when we're in that open state. And again, that's why I love spiritual practice, is because we at some moment every day, we let go of all of the stuff in our head and we open up to a different reality, and it changes us. If we could get the first 2 steps of treatment, we would never have to do anything else. Whatever is, this vibration, this essence, this life, this love, whatever it is all that there is, and that means that it must be what I am. And there is nothing that I have ever done, nothing that I can ever do to take myself out of there, to separate myself, nothing that I need to be punished for, nothing that I have to demonstrate limitation about. There is nothing that can hold me back or keep me from being this amazing, divine God being of light and love. It is who I am. And it doesn't matter how many cloaks I put over myself to try to cover up the light that I am, it's still shining. And what I have found is that people can come into this teaching really screwed up and move into that second step of treatment and have a healing that up until that point was unknown. I know a woman who was locked in the closet all of 3rd grade, only let out to have lunch. I know a man who was beaten with chains as a child. Both of these people moved into the second step of treatment, and it didn't happen overnight, but they held on to it tenaciously. That there is something good in me, there is something whole in me. You know, the whole phrase that we rattle off, perfect, whole, and complete. Think about it. Perfect. I know you don't like that word, but it's earnest.
Oh, I do like it.
Perfect. Perfect. You are perfect. Jamie Lula sings a song, "You're perfect, you're golden. You're the light of my life. You're perfect." Whole means that there's nothing missing. You're not lacking in anything. You're not lacking in intelligence. You're not lacking in the right to have a place in this world. You're not lacking. You're whole. And you are complete. And yes, we come together in classes, but only to remind ourselves of who we are. Not to get anything. You can't get anything. Really, the whole idea of the law of attraction is a misnomer, because you can't bring anything into your life. All you can do is open up a way for that which is already yours to come forth and reflect back to you. But you're not getting anything from anybody or anything else. It's already here right now. That's the whole complete concept. And when you start hanging out there, and my preference is in the morning before things happen in the day, when you start hanging out that whatever, and I do this at the beach all the time as I am addicted to sunrises. As the sun comes up, it's not a sunrise outside of myself that I'm watching. I am the sunrise. It is the rays of light coming out of me as much as it's coming up over the horizon, over the water, or standing in my stairwell looking at the sun that rises right there in the east. When you do this, there is a healing that happens, and Ernest says there's nothing to heal, only truth to be revealed, so I'm just using language. There's a revealing of the true nature of who we are that blasts out the old ideas of limitation, of victimization, of shame that so many of us carry in the world. And this is step 2 of treatment. I think it is the most powerful thing that we do. Yes, speak your word, set the law in motion, pay off everybody's mortgages, all of that's great, but the way that we get there is to have an experience that we are so much more than we ever thought we were. We are so much more than our parents thought we were, or our spouses, or our children, or our bosses, or the world at large. We are so much more than that. And the way that, in my opinion, the way that you do that, and I've tried the couch, I've tried all kinds of alternative therapies, I've been on both sides of the couch for decades. In my experience, when you can get a sense that the infiniteness, the love of life is in you, is you, then something changes inside of you. And the darkness lightens, the pain lessens, the automatic response to go into, oh, I can't, oh, I shouldn't, oh, it'll never happen, I don't have what it takes, that kind of thing is not as easily run through because there's a whole nother idea, and ideas are not necessarily equal. This idea that says you are an amazing being of light and love and power has a lot of oomph to it. And so you start opening up to that, and those other thoughts, oh, your parents said you wouldn't amount to anything, they don't hold the same level. So when you hang out in step 2, it goes into the depths of you and into the heights of you, and it changes you. I don't want you to hurry through this one. This one is important. You've got to get the idea that God is the table, God is the crutches, God is the floor, God is the pollen, God is the sneezing, God is the class, God is everybody and everything. You got to get there. You got to be able to live and see God all around you and to look for it and find it and experience that. But then it's got to become what you are. You've got to be able to take it in, and you're not taking it in from outside of yourself. You're bringing that idea up so that you start remembering at a cellular level of who you are, at a soul level of who you are. There is that within you that knows better than the stories of your life, than the stories that you tell yourself. There is that within you that knows. And when you give that half a chance, it starts to come out, and it will clean out, Ernest calls it cleaning out the storehouse of the subconscious mind. It starts getting rid of that gunk and that bunk and all of that which has you trapped into this old idea, this limiting experience of who you are and what is available to you. And when you can start opening up to that, serendipity happens. The universe goes, well, thank God the barriers are coming down. I've got all these decades worth of good I'm trying to give to you, and all you have to do is let the barrier down a little bit. It's not like now I have to go do all this stuff and create all this stuff and make all this stuff happen. We just have to stop fighting who we are. So what I would really like to encourage you to do when you move into your practice of spiritual mind treatment is that you embrace the vastness of the divine, and then you embrace the intimacy of that in you. They say that this teaching has too much head and not enough heart, and I say that's just someone who hasn't practiced it. Because if you want to feel loved, hang out in step 2. If you want to feel precious to life, hang out in step 2. If you want to wash yourself clean of all of that old stuff, and I don't care what has happened to you or what you have done. I had a person in class once who murdered someone, shot them dead, stood trial in Buncombe County for it, was acquitted, and never regretted it, said I would do it again. Someone was trying to kill her, it was her husband, and she picked up a gun and shot him. And the jury agreed that that was the appropriate action. But I don't care what you've done or what anyone has done to you. It cannot dim the light that you are. It cannot change who you are. No matter how many blankets we put over us, trying to pretend that we're dark, it can never stop the light that we are. And when you just stay with it and Do you do it out loud? You can do it out loud. You can do it quietly. You can do it with words. You can do it with no words. You can just be that. And however you do it, I don't care, everybody's different, audio, visual, kinesthetic, whatever the other ones are. Everybody's different, but what you want to do is you want to go to that place that says, I am perfect, I am whole, and I am complete. I am God's own. I am Spirit's own. I am the light. I am the love. I am the power. I am the joy. It is what I am. I have always been that way. I will always be that way. And then when you move to the third step and you start manipulating time and space and creating all this cool stuff, you're doing it from a place of spiritual maturity. You're doing it from a place of clarity. And in the meantime, I guarantee you, old things will melt away. Traumas and drama will vanish because you have allowed yourself to go back to your true nature. And we can pretend that things are not the way that they are, but it doesn't change that. It's like children who go, you can't see me. That's what children do. They close their eyes and they think that you can't see them. And sometimes we do that spiritually. We close our eyes to our magnificence and we think that that's who we are, but we can't stop being this amazing being that we are. So I want to instill in you a really strong desire to commit to hanging out in step 2, because it will change you. It will heal you. You will save thousands and thousands of dollars in therapy. And you will have so much more available energy and clarity and thought and choice because you're not busy stuffing it all down so that you can live your life in a much more clear way. But the immediate benefit is you will feel so much better. You know, it's amazing to me how many people carry shame around with them and how they think that that's appropriate. There's nothing to be ashamed about. What was that Barbara Streisand, Barry Gibb song? You've got nothing to be guilty for. You've got nothing to be sorry for. Our love is 1 in a million. You are 1 in a million. So let the second step of treatment, let that, you know, if you believe in angels or spirit guides or just higher selves or whatever, let that touch you. Because we're looking at life through limited vision. Paul said through a glass darkly, but I don't want to quote Paul. Ann Lee's going to go crazy on me. We have narrow tunnel vision, and there is that within us that knows, that already is there. So let that part of you touch you, awaken you, heal you, cleanse you, bring you up to the person that you always have been. Not to where you want to go, but to the person that you've always been through eons. That will never be dimmed and never die and never be able to be separated from. Let that come out, and it comes out in step 2. Talk to the licensed practitioners. Do we have any practitioners in the room? No, the Science of Mind practitioners of the center. And ask them how important step 2 is. Step 2 is where it's at. This is the key. There's Kate over there. She's about to be licensed. Mark your calendars, the first Sunday in August, we're going to license a whole new group of practitioners. But it's all about step 2. Don't rush through this. The difference between affirmations and spiritual mind treatment is steps 1 and 2. They are critically important to the shifting, the deep inner changing inside of you that this teaching offers. Sarah. Sure, you want to do a song? Hold on. Turn it down a little bit so it doesn't vibrate all the time. That's not it. No.
Okay, we're not doing that song?
No, it's either 5 or 7.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, well, then we'll play around with it.
Then fast forward.
Oh,
Keep pausing.
yeah.
Try 5. Let's do it after the break.
Okay, we'll practice.
Let's take a break. I think it went on some random thing. So come on back.
I'll keep that in mind. I got 2 more years.
Come on out, Jane. Come on back. What is your name? The person with the sunglasses on their head and the white jacket?
Oh, Garel.
Pardon me?
Garel.
Darrell?
Garel.
Garel?
Yeah.
Have you been here before?
I came Sunday.
Wonderful. Welcome. Welcome, Darrell. Come on and get settled, Jane.
Here I come.
Here you go.
Here. One of those drawers is.
Is the camera back on? Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Did you ever turn it off?
He's so proficient.
So take a deep breath.
Come Daniel.
instead of just sitting there and listening to us tell them to you, you get to sing them. And when you sing them, you put them in your body. Did you feel it?
Yeah.
I know it even had the three-letter God word, and still you were all smiling and rocking along with it.
It's
one-
mankind.
It said that when you sing, you're doubly blessed. It's a double prayer when you sing it.
When you sing, it's a double prayer. That's why John starts his treatments off. You're gonna have to sing to me.
Hi. So what is the name of that song?
This one,
That we just sang.
that's a really good question, what's it called?
That is I Am. I don't know, it's on the If You Make It So album by Daniel Nahmod. We like Daniel.
Yeah,
We
he-
could record it. And it's-
He actually, that whole album was from songs that he went to his church in Chicago and listened to his minister and home wrote a song. And they turned him into an album. Yeah, so those were Sunday messages. And his name is? Daniel Nahmod.
Nahmod.
Yeah, Nahmod.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've got these attributes are the presence of the divine. What about the omnis?
On the present.
The harness
Are you omnipresent?
Yeah.
Let me explain how this works. Your body is not, but you are not your body. What was his name? Bruce Lipton. This amazing cellular biologist, world-class, amazing guy. Really moved the whole idea of cellular biology into a metaphysical realm when he realized that the information coming into your body is not created in your brain. There's not thinking going on in your brain. Your brain is an organism. It's an organ that works to receive data and to transmit data through your body. So when you have a thought, it is not originating in your brain. It's actually in I forget what the name of the section of the brain is. The back here? Yeah, that is filled with these transmitting, receiving crystals. And they are attuned to a frequency. And everybody has a different frequency. And they've proven it. These little tiny crystals actually receive information from where? Something other than physical form. They're receiving information. And it feels to us like we're having that thought in our head. But it's not true. That's where our bodies are receiving the thought. And this is straight out of science. This has been studied. So that every cell in your body has the same cells, the same crystalline receivers. So that when you think that thought, every cell in your body thinks it with you. But you are not your body. Therefore, not being your body, you must be omnipresent. Localized to a specific point in time and space called your body. But that is not who you are. So yes, you are omnipresent. Are you omnipotent? Do you have all power? You certainly have the power to create your life, without exception. Oh, and I want to just take a moment to clarify on that idea that I don't like the word perfect. I love the word perfect. I love the word perfect in the second step, because that is absolutely true. We are perfect beings of love and light. We are perfect in every way. And our lives are unfolding perfectly according to our consciousness. But don't in your third step, and we'll talk about this again next week, in your third step, don't know that you are going to be perfect. That's a waste of energy. You're already perfect. You're already perfect. Your job is to receive that and to accept that in your second step, and then in your third step, work from that knowing. But, yes.
The game changer for me with all this was that it's unconditional love.
Absolutely.
And that, when I realized that knowing, it changed everything.
Yep. when you recognize the presence of the divine, is love. And love is the presence of the divine. And we cannot any longer deny ourselves love. We can't. It's impossible. It doesn't work. So, omnipotence, omniscience. That's my favorite one to talk about. Are we all-knowing?
Yeah.
We are. We have to be. Because there's only one mind. It's the mind of God, and that's my mind now. How can I demonstrate that? Oh, lots of ways. Here's one that I have actually experienced firsthand. You heard of remote viewing? It's this amazing thing that's been used by our government, still is, where you give people coordinates to something that doesn't mean anything. And yet they sit there with those coordinates and they experience a visual viewing of something in physical form somewhere.
This will form what?
In physical form somewhere. And what it is, there's an intention behind it. Whoever is setting up the remote viewing knows the place. But all they do is make up coordinates to get you there. And then people who have developed their ability to do this can go there. It sounds weird. It sounds like, how can that be? What would make that work? Well, we did a class on remote viewing here at the center years ago. And there were a group of us, and we would meet every week, and we would study this idea of remote viewing. And then we did the remote viewing, and I actually purchased an envelope with coordinates. And I opened the envelope, and I read the coordinates to the class. And the task was to draw what you see. What happens in remote viewing is that sometimes you empty your mind enough that you really do get an image. It may or may not make any sense to you. The challenge is that so many of us have such an interest in being creative that we start thinking. And then we create some wonderful thing. But in the class, this one woman drew this, I don't know what it was, something. She drew something. And we all looked at it and said, well, what is that? And I said, okay, everybody got your drawings, your ideas, right? Okay. I opened the envelope to read what it was. It was a wellhead in Iraq. And I worked in the oil field. I looked at it and went, that's a wellhead. She had no idea what it was, but she could see it. She could see it. And then you get into the stories that we studied about this, where someone who had lost their olfactory sense could not smell. The place they went to was a rose garden in a particular exercise. And when they did, they broke into tears because they could smell the roses. And in their body they couldn't. But in a state of remote viewing, they could smell the roses. So are we omnipresent? Are we omniscient? We are. We absolutely are. Now, we don't play that game much. Most of us don't go into that realm very often, but there are people that work for the government that do it all the time. And find people, and get information that helps the military is what they do, So beyond that, it's not a military exercise in that it's something that's done totally metaphysically. So we have within us the ability to do all these things. And I just wanted you to know that. So, let's talk about how we got into this idea of how the universe is that is no longer serving us. We have this thing, this traditional Judeo-Christian model, and it goes like this. God is this omnipotent being that is in charge of everything. We are the human being over here, right? Just little old us. God is all powerful. We are this, well, when I grew up, it was a miserable sinner. And I tried that for a while. It was a lot of work.
Yeah.
And then there's this other player. Remember him? So we have this triangle, which means that This is the poor little human that is being tempted by the evil one, but can be saved by the God, by the divine presence, right? That's the traditional model. Or we could just, let's just write it on here. Let's say, persecuted. Perpetrator. You seen the drama triangle? That's the drama triangle. And that's what traditional Judeo-Christian people teach, is the drama triangle. We want to get away from the drama triangle. We don't want to ever step into that. We don't want to ever try to be the rescuer. Because as soon as you try to be the rescuer, suddenly you're perceived by the victim as the perpetrator. Get in the middle of their business, right? And if you step in as a perpetrator thinking that you're the prosecutor to fix something, you'll end up being the perpetrator, and the victim will call you that, and then you'll think that you're the victim. You die just flying around this drama triangle. So the way it doesn't work in spiritual understanding, it doesn't work in human relations. So we let go of that model, and we create this model. Create the idea, and this is a limited concept because it's a two-dimensional model, but it's how it works. This is all that is, infinite presence right here. What you got on the top is the idea of the spirit, the cause, the point of cause of everything. What you've got here is the law, or that action, that essence of life that mirrors back to us an experience in physical form down here. It goes by many names: spirit, body, it goes by seed, soil, plant, it goes by cause and effect, and this is the tool that takes you from cause to effect. This is the physical universe. This is the illusion. This is filled with facts. You can talk about this all day long. This has no power. All power comes from here. Where are you in the model?
Does thought fall in the bar across the middle?
Actually, thought is initiated here
Okay.
and is transformed through the law into form. So this, and of course, in the model that we use here, it looks like this. It looks like this. Well, of course. I mean, what are we? Truly, we're at the top. We're here. But the idea is that you move from this invisible, non-physical essence of the divine through the law into physical form.
The law being known as the law of attraction or the law of oneness.
It's all the same thing. We give it different names because we perceive it in different ways, with the law of cause and effect, the law of attraction, the law of correspondence, the law of cause and effect. It's all the same law. Only one law. Only one thing going on.
Why can't we be all three? Can we not be all three?
If you think you're here, and many people do, if you think you're here, Jane,
Yeah.
and many people do, then you are powerless.
No, but
So what's it? No, listen, this is important. This is where the power is.
Yeah.
Because everything initiates from here. Everything starts with you creating thoughts. If you want to be down here, then your body's here. Your body's down there. But you are that omnipotent being. So you must be here in this model.
Is that the lower
And
level?
you are not the law. The law is the mechanism
But
that...
it's within you, the law is within you.
No, the law is everywhere because it mirrors back to you. It mirrors back to you your experience. So you have a thought, the law takes the thought and transforms it into something that you can see, that you can experience. That's the mechanism of it. The law is important, but let's not be the law. The law the law on its own can do nothing. It must be initiated by us. We are here.
But couldn't we be higher consciousness and then the law and then the.
No.
All three things.
No. No. Here's why. Because
And then
then you must know every possibility for something to occur. And you must do it consciously. And you don't. You can't possibly. What you know here is the idea that you're putting into the law, and the law is reflecting it back to you in ways that you don't even consciously know about. Could you know? Yes, you could. But most of us leave that to the law to reflect back to us. If we say that we're going to have a loving, joyous, fulfilling relationship with another human being, an intimate relationship with another human being, if we are the law, then we only are going to choose between the people that we know. And that's going to leave out everybody else. No, leave the law to do the law's infinite work and bring into our lives that person that meets every quality that we desire and everything that we choose to give to someone. It's the elegance of it. It's the why we don't do why. The why we don't do how. We don't do how. If we were the law, then we'd have to do how. We don't do how. And we have bodies, but we are not our bodies. We are not our bodies. We are something greater than that. So we are not here. We are here.
Yeah, that lower level is so transient.
Sure, this is the place that everybody thinks they are in normal human life. Everybody thinks, oh, yeah, this is me. But it's not. It's not. You're something greater than that. You're an infinite presence. Always. But your body's not. Your body's not always going to be here. Right, right. And thank God for them. Isn't it wonderful to have a body? You know, let's bless our bodies. Let's take good care of them. Let's honor our bodies. But let's not be our bodies. Yeah, that's the beauty of this model. So we just say thank you for asking, because that really helped me express to the class the distinctions. That was great.
I'm wondering how to keep from being a rescuer, how to be
I'm
someone.
back over here.
Yeah.
Buddy, that's some work. For
Yeah.
some folks.
Well, I mean, I want to say something really strange, extrapolate to your original thing about long-range viewing, because actually what brought me here was an incident where I was a long-range viewer and I,
Really?
yes,
Ooh.
okay, and I wanted to do good in life, right, you know, and make the world better and, you know, solve all the problems of the war and everything. And I tuned in to the KGB trying to kill the Pope with a psychotronic machine, okay? And disrupt the long-range viewers of the Americans. And they saw me seeing them, and they zapped me with their electronic machine, and gave me an ulcer for 14 years, stopped my telepathy and my long-range viewing and the whole thing, because I got in that triangle, okay?
Yeah.
And so like I went, okay, I just gotta think good thoughts now and, you know, come from love. And I don't even wanna think about all that stuff anymore because, you know, I'm out of my league, whatever, you know. But, so, I mean, anything you could say about not doing that?
Well, you know, it's a demonstration that there's stuff beyond our physical knowing.
Yeah.
You know, that we transcend the physicality of our bodies.
Yeah.
And it was interesting in that model you just described, the damage was done to your, by something outside of you, to your body,
Yeah.
but you were always in charge.
Well, I
So
feel like
you were fully engaged in
I
that.
created it on
There
some
you go.
psychic level, but in a sense, I felt like I was just blundering into it, even though vibrationally I must have been attuned to it.
You know, obviously you were playing in a realm there,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and here you are to tell us about
There
it.
I am.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what do you want to say?
The way to get out of the triangle is that there are no victims, there are only volunteers. Everybody is a powerful, creative, spiritual being. Everybody is God-informed. There are no helpless people. There are no people that circumstances has done them wrong. They are amazing beings doing their dance. And when you learn to see, step one, Spirit is manifest in every person, in every place, and in every event. When you can see the presence of the divine, then you don't jump into the triangle because there's no triangle to jump into. You're in the circle. God is a circle whose circumference is nowhere and whose center is everywhere. The center of the divine is right in you. Wow. People come up to me and they come to see me and it's like, oh, I don't have any money. I go, wow, you are so powerful. You live in an infinite, expanding, abundant, prosperous universe, and you have managed to be poor? I am so impressed with you. Oh, nobody loves me. Wow, you are so powerful. All there is love. You are created out of love. Love is what you are, and you can manage to feel unloved. I'm so impressed with you. There's no victimization there. There's no triangle. I want your mic. That's how you stay out of the triangle. You see God in the person that a moment ago you saw as this helpless, hapless, lesser than person. If God is all that there is, it has huge implications.
And if you perceive life in this model, nothing here can hurt you. Nothing can hurt you. Nothing can hurt you because you're identifying with your body. Can you feel pain? Absolutely. Can your body be destroyed? Absolutely. But you're an infinite being of love and light. You're not your body. And there's something important in understanding that. It allows you to see and appreciate your body without having to identify with it. What you want to identify with is the divine presence. And see yourself as that. That's the work. And it's wonderful work. And it's joyous work. And it's even in the midst of turmoil, it's the revelations that show up in your life are amazing. The way things work out again and again and again. So this is the model to use. Let that one go on all levels and stay over here. See that as the way you do. So what you've got here is, let me show you how it works. It works whether you believe it or not. It's working all the time for everybody. So, you're a spiritual being, you're born into a family, the family struggles with money. Dad doesn't bring home enough money, mom's homework, or with the home, with the 8 kids, or whatever's going on there. And everybody doesn't have enough. So there's this mindset of not enough. So the idea of not enough is an idea that shows up in physical form. Not enough food, not enough clothes, not enough of anything. So you grow up in that. What do you think the chances are if you don't shift that belief that you're going to grow up and live in a world of not enough? You're going to, because that was an idea. This is how it works. You think it, and then you experience it with the circumstances in physical form. And then what happens is, by observing that, that's this side of it. And if you'll notice on the teaching symbol, it's got a little turn here because it's going to happen again. Because now you've seen it now. Okay, now I have evidence that this not enough is evident. It's here. I can show you. I can tell you what happened to demonstrate that to you. So you create it again, and again, and again, and again. It bores deep roots in your psyche. That's the way life is. So then you have to turn it around. How do you do that? You have to have a thought of more than enough. You have to do that. And if you do it and you stay with it, eventually, using the same system, the creative process never changes. I think that there's more than enough. So I get, not that, I get that. There was more than enough that day or that moment. Okay, all right, well, there was more than enough. I saw it happen. So I do it again, and I do it again. And what happens is it grows and grows and grows and becomes our understanding of life. It will, again and again and again, demonstrate down here. So, but this is malleable. This changes. This is fluid. Just because something happens here is no evidence that it's so. What it is it's a fact. But you don't live with facts and let your life be run by facts. You let your life be run by truth. So that's where you work from. So no matter what it looks like down here, you determine, you declare, you live in that truth. You create it into your life up here, and it will show up down there. It must. That's what treatment does. Yes?
I'm kind of switching back to what.
You want to go to the triangle, okay.
I'm a therapist.
But I think the reason, I've been a therapist for 25 years, and I think the reason I get burned out is because I get into that rescuer.
Sure.
And I work a lot with self-esteem, and I think that part of it is healthy because it's reminding children who they are, how powerful they are, how wonderful they are, how they're beautiful, they're cool, they're whatever it is, they're good enough, they're just, all these things. And I think, I've been in that rescuer, I wanna make an impact. I wanna change the world. I wanna help these kids live a better life. And
You're invested in them.
yeah.
So just my advice to you on that, what I've learned to do is not care. Love them. Love them purely. Tell them what you know. Let them choose. It's their path, not yours. And if you do, when they leave your office, you've given them what you got. You give it to them and you let go.
It's easy to love those children, even the
Of
brats.
course it is. And that's what I'm saying. It's easy. And you plant those
Yeah.
seeds, and they will germinate and grow at the right time. They'll remember that someday, and it'll make a difference. But if you're asking them to immediately make the shift, they may not be in an environment where they're ready to. And they're spiritual beings just like you, just like me. And they're going to find their way. They are also on a perfect path. Every experience is a divine experience of God. Even the hard ones. So many of us, you've heard all the stories about people who had these very precarious circumstances in their lives and have risen above it. Well, it was the circumstance that was their thing that catapulted them into that. You plant those seeds, but that's all you can do. And that's all you should do. You cannot expect them to respond to you in the moment.
And it's wonderful doing that.
It is.
Perfect.
It's fantastic doing that.
Powerful.
What a gift. You bet. David.
So there's a way to show up as God in the world by bringing the truth, light, love, the aspects, the qualities, the character of God into the world. Let love radiate without concern. Let love flow without concern.
Yeah.
Because that's who I am. And I know that changes happen because that's what's at the core of them. So you get this other thing going in. Things change when the mother duckling shows up, all the other ducks get in line. That's kind of the way it works. But it's not because like you said, it's really weird because I care. I don't like seeing people suffer. But at the same time, I know there's no suffering, and at the core of them, it's their choice. There's all these other things going on. And at the same time, the circumstances change when the truth shows up. It's a
And
weird
when
thing.
somebody's ready to embrace it.
Yeah.
On their time schedule, not mine. So that's why I always let it go. The thing that we do best is loving. Love that person. Love them. Love that child. But don't demand of them that they be a certain way. That's their choice. And they're all on a perfect path, doing exactly what they need to do to be true to their nature. Yes.
So what you speak of is non-judgmental and allowing people to live their path as they choose to live it. So that word truth is not completely resonating with me because it's feeling judgmental that my truth is the right truth.
Oh, I never use the word "my" in front of truth.
Okay.
I'm totally, that doesn't work for me. That diminishes the idea of truth if it's mine.
Okay.
If I own truth, then I'm in charge, and that's just not true. Truth transcends everything.
Well, the word that's resonating with me that you have used, John, is the knowing.
Yeah.
The knowing. And leaving truth out of it, because if you're an absolute knowing, it demonstrates.
Yeah.
It is.
When I use truth, these are the kinds of concepts that I'm thinking. That exists in everyone. That's true. Whether you can see it or not. It doesn't matter whether it's here. It's here. But and if you want to use the word knowing, absolutely. Language, I am so not attached to what language you use.
Yes.
And one of the most powerful things I can say to anyone is I know who you are. It has stopped people cold. I know who you are.
And you speak to the essence and the nature.
Absolutely.
I think there's a lot of conditioning in the idea that we have to feel sorry for people. Feeling sorry for someone and being compassionate are the same thing.
No.
And they're
not at
not
all.
the same thing at
No,
all.
you're talking about sympathy.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rocking Bear, my
Right.
Native American teacher was
Feeling sorry
great.
for me is part of that triangle.
Yeah, oh, absolutely, absolutely. You feel sorry for this person. What you're saying is, I'm the rescuer, I'm better than you.
You're broken.
Yeah, yeah, you're broken. I'm really, having sympathy for you. Don't do that. You know, my teacher in Australia taught me no sympathy. We gave him he had some kind of physical thing he was working through one time, and we gave him a no sympathy cake. That was great. He made the point.
Yeah, but sympathy doesn't uplift that person to know
Not at
their
all.
own power is,
Not at
so
all.
that they can get a choice.
Right.
They become identified with being the victim even more, the more that you feel sympathy for them.
So another word that really fits into this model for me is expectations. Kind of goes back to where you were. You expect people to hear what you say and act on it. Maybe that's a reasonable expectation, but the thing about expectations for me is that I don't cling to them. You know, whatever happens is okay. Whatever happens is all that could have happened, is the way I look at life. And that way, if I have an expectation that you're going to come here tomorrow and be this joyous person, you come here all bummed out, I'm not going to lose over that. That's your choice. You know, and I honor your path. Whatever way you want to go, whatever you want to do it. Like after class, I don't worry how much you got when you came to class. I expect you guys to live these brilliant, wonderful, uplifting lives. But if you choose not to, that's okay. Boy, if I lived with those expectations, everybody left the center, I'd go into a depression.
Yeah.
That's all right, go. If it's time to go. God, my first teacher taught me that so clearly. He said, it's wonderful having you here, but if it's your time to go, go. You know, no ties, no expectations that you're always there, or that you'll do what I think is best. Boy, that's the basis of all judgment. That someone did something that I did was what I would do. You know? So somehow they're wrong? No, they're not wrong, they're doing their thing.
So you're
And if you-
moving from step 4.
If you look at people, they will be true to their nature. They will be true to their ideas. They will be, if somebody lies to you, understand they have it within them to lie to you. So that when they lie to you the next time, you won't go, oh, you did it again. They did it again. That's where they function. It's okay. So if you know people are true to their nature, the only way they're going to surprise you is to lie to you by not acting out on that, those things that are less than, those limiting thoughts.
I love Maya Angelou. One of her quotes is, when people show you who they are, believe them.
You believe them, there you go. Believe them. Yeah, exactly. And that's getting out of this triangle.
And when they change, don't think you had anything to do with it.
Thank you. That's a brilliant point. You didn't have anything to do with it. Their choice, their life. Bless them, wish them well. You know, see the God in them, but don't somehow think that you're ever playing that role, because that's bogus. We are no one's rescuer.
Even that, Barbara's gonna take on it when you say bless them, it has that southern thing like, oh, bless your heart, honey, you're just so, and you're pathetic.
Well, when I say blessing, it's knowing the presence in them. That's what I do. And that's what I do when they're walking in with their problems. Oh, I got these problems. I go, God showed up trying to trick me. You know? Yeah, trying to trick me, trying to show me somehow that that they're less than the divine, and I won't buy it. I mean, I'll nod my head and smile. Yeah, or do like who was he in New York City? Raymond Charles Barker, sitting there with Lloyd Tupper, mumbling something the whole time. Lloyd's talking about all these maladies in his life. And Tupper stopped and said, "You're saying something. I can't hear what you're saying." He said, "Oh, I'm saying not an ounce of truth, not an ounce of truth, not an ounce of truth." You know, just knowing everything, all these troubles and maladies that were going on in Lloyd's life were not the truth. They were just facts. The truth is that we are the presence of the divine, whole and complete in every way. And there's nothing more wonderful, as Barbara shared, than getting that second step. There are people who sit in monasteries around the planet who are doing nothing every day but seeking to know step 2. They don't call it step 2, but seeking to know the presence in their life. You know? So here you are, you can do it right now. Isn't that lovely?
We can even change the word fact to perception. because fact is relative.
Facts are all relative.
They change.
Absolutely. In fact, those are other names for these things.
Let's do this. Hold on, it's easy.
Wow.
This is the absolute. Live from the absolute, and nothing will ever overwhelm you again. There it is. You have a thought, Barbara?
Come up with a reading assignment.
That would be the chapter on step 3.
To page 55.
So read that, and we're going to talk about the third step of treatment next week.
You done?
I am so happily.
Get rid of this oil well pump.
We are still treating every day with these envelopes and whatever is in them, and blessing them and knowing that they are revealed perfectly.
So even if we've forgotten what it is that we voted?
Doesn't matter. It's in the mind of God.
I know.
Well, that's going to be the fun of opening up on the last class.
Oh, no wonder that happened.
Can people still add to the envelope if they've just done? Add to your treatments.
She wants to know if people can write out an envelope of Joe's.
All right, yeah, that was,
Sure.
Sure.
I love that translator.
Loosely translated.
And with an accent.
Yeah, really.
Thank you for helping clean up coffee after class. Are there any questions before we close? Do you feel like you have a greater sense of what is going on in treatment?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Please hang out with these first 2 steps this week. Do your reading, and then you're going to get all excited about going into step 3, which is where you're actually commanding the law into form, and you get to have all these cool things show up. But hang out in steps 1 and 2. Schedule time. If you have to get up early, lose sleep over this. And hang out there and feel that which is your true nature, which has nothing to do with, or has very little to do with this earth plane. Okay? Okay. Take out what you're going to give. Hold it in your hand. And what I know is that the presence of Spirit is all in all as all. And whatever this presence is, this vibration of love and light, it is infinite, it is limitless, it is prosperity beyond our wildest dreams. And I know that each one of us is created out of, as, in, through, a point of, an individualization of the absolute, infinite prosperity of life itself. It is our very nature, it is the essence, the foundation upon which we stand. Each and every one of us is prosperity itself. And so since whatever God is, we are, that prosperity of life is manifest in our finances, in our bank accounts, in our activities that we do. Everything in the world, in our lives, are prosperous and prosper us now. And so I claim for each and every one of us that we are rich, right here and right now. I know that the windows of heaven have opened and fill us up with a blessing that overflows into every area of our lives. I claim for each and every one of us that we are free, that not only are all of our bills paid, but all of our debt is retired and paid in full. Not only are our bills paid and our debt is gone, but we have so much money piled up all around us to travel, to buy, to enjoy, to be in the pleasure of life. This is who we have come here to be. Beings of light and love, alive and well on planet Earth, enjoying this experience of life. And so I know that each one of us comes together this night. We give our gift, we set spiritual law in motion, and life gives back to us. And I am so grateful for the richness of our lives, for the abundance of our lives, for all of the money in our lives, and for the way that we use it to uplift ourselves and to pleasure ourselves in this life. And with that gratitude for all that life gives to us, all of the blessings that we have and are, I simply release this treatment into all that God is, knowing that God is so much more than anything I can ever imagine. As together we say, and so it is. Just hold that energy. We are setting law in motion. We are thinking a thought. We are vibrating and creating in our lives unexpected good, things working out, serendipity, synchronicity, lives that are rich and full and blessed. And I know that that blessing that we are came with our giving in each and every one of these gifts. I know that that energy vibrates at a high level in this room, and it touches each and every one of us. It awakens us, it reminds us of who we are, and we are open to all of the good that life has for us. I know that these gifts bless this center and the lives of thousands and thousands of people who have a better experience of being in human form because of this center. Touches every one of us here tonight, everyone who has ever been here, and everyone yet to come. And so it is. I love you. Have a wonderful week.
See you later. Have a great week. Always good to see you.
Thank you for helping me up the coffee.
Good to see you, Tom.
It must be the perfect time. Yeah. Soaking it up. Oh. Well, I mean, basically, we're, do it, find whatever way.
Bye, Cheryl.
We have to do it. Yeah, but whatever supports. It's a pretty community, and I've tuned to vibration, so that reminds me when I can actually. Yeah, that's, I just found that out. I've just been here years, but that's more exciting. Outside, but in the front of the door, down the ground, you'll see it. They're perfect match. If we do our lives, and there's no time left over, we can't really be closely around. We might, we're gonna be by reflecting God in our own paths and success. That way we can help. Oh, a lot of us, came from there. like but nobody has to stay there, if they're ready, then the bucket, they'll change them. They got the same size Well, no, but when I was in the triangle, I tried to push the triangle, my part of it, the other, people's part of it. No, it doesn't work, you find a new way. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, the grocery store closes at 11.
Yeah, the grocery store, no, this is the health food store. They close at 9.
That sounds wonderful, Barbara, we'll be I'll be
Closes at 9. And
I leave Thursday morning,
the other one closes at 10.
but have fun.
See ya.
See ya, have a wonderful week.
I shall try.
Hi, Breezy, I'll see you tomorrow.
Wonder what the specific, what would you like me to do with it? Put it away, leave it up?
Well,
No, I think it needs to get put away.
Okay, let's do that.
it was up to us.
It gets put away.